In just 49 seconds, one of Hollywood's most respected actors went from sitting calmly in the guest chair to walking off stage after the host crossed every line imaginable. A simple film promotion turned into a complete disaster of disrespect, personal attacks, and a meltdown that left everyone watching in absolute shock. Hit that subscribe button right now. We bring you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the confrontations they don't want you to see, and the truth behind the carefully crafted images. Last night's show started simple. Denzel Washington walked onto the stage, shook Howard Stern's hand, and sat down. The crowd cheered. He was there to talk about his latest film, a passion project he'd been working on for years. Howard leaned back in his chair. "Denzel Washington, everybody. Man, it's good to have you here." "Thanks for having me, Howard. So let's talk about this new movie of yours. You directed it, you starred in it. Tell us what it's about." Denzel's face lit up. He started explaining the film. A story about family, redemption, and second chances. He talked about the research he did, the communities he visited, the real stories that inspired the screenplay. Howard cut him off mid-sentence. Yeah, that's great and all. But let me ask you something. Don't you think audiences are tired of these heavy, preachy movies? People want to be entertained, not lectured. Denzel's smile faded. "I don't think telling authentic stories is preaching, Howard. I think it's about showing different perspectives." "Right perspectives," Howard said with a smirk. "Look, I'm just saying, you're a movie star. You could be making huge action films, making hundreds of millions of dollars, but instead you're making these small artistic films that nobody really cares about." The audience went quiet. Denzel shifted in his seat. "I wouldn't say nobody cares, Howard. The film's been doing very well, and I make the movies I want to make, not the ones that just chase money. Come on, man. Everyone chases money. That's what Hollywood is all about. I care about making good work. Money comes and goes, but the work you do, the stories you tell, that's what lasts." Howard waved his hand dismissively. "That's some nice speech, but we all know the truth. You actors love to pretend you're above it all, like you're artists or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're all just chasing that next big payday." Denzel stared at Howard, his jaw tightening. "I've been doing this for 40 years, Howard. I think I know what drives me better than you do." 40 years, exactly. And in those 40 years, how many times have you played basically the same character? The tough guy, the hero, the guy who saves the day. Isn't that getting old? I play a variety of characters. If you actually watched my films, you'd know that." Howard grinned wider. "Oh, I've seen your movies. Training Day, great film. You played a dirty cop. But even then, you were still the coolest guy in the room, right? You always gotta be the alpha male." "Howard, what exactly are you trying to get at here?" "I'm just asking questions, man. That's what I do." Howard shrugged. "You're this big movie star, but you're so careful about your image. You never let anyone see the real you. What are you hiding?" Denzel took a deep breath. "I'm not hiding anything. I'm private about my personal life because it's personal. There's a difference between being an actor and being a circus act." The audience oohed. "Circus act? Is that what you think I am? I think you make a living out of saying shocking things to get attention. But that's your choice. My choice is to keep my family and my private life separate from my work." "Your family. Let's talk about that. You've been married to the same woman for decades. That's pretty rare in Hollywood. How do you do it? What's the secret?" Denzel relaxed slightly. "There's no secret, Howard. It's about respect, commitment, and actually caring about the person you're with." "Yeah, but come on. You're telling me in all those years you never strayed? Never had a little something on the side? You're a movie star surrounded by beautiful women all the time." Denzel's expression hardened. "No, Howard. I haven't. Because I love my wife, and I respect my marriage." "Really?" "Because there have been rumors over the years. Rumors aren't facts. And I'm not going to sit here and let you insinuate things about my marriage that aren't true. I'm just asking. You're so defensive about it." "I'm not defensive. I'm setting the record straight. You invited me here to talk about my film, not to dig into my personal life with baseless gossip." Howard leaned back and laughed. "See, this is what I'm talking about. You can't handle a real conversation." "A real conversation? You think disrespecting someone and their family is a real conversation? I think honesty is a real conversation. And honestly, I think you're full of it. This whole perfect family man image you sell, it's too clean. Nobody's that clean. Denzel stood up suddenly. The entire studio went silent. You know what, Howard? I came here as a professional. I came here to talk about my work. But you clearly had a different agenda. Sit down, man. Don't be so sensitive. Sensitive? You just spent the last several minutes disrespecting my work, questioning my integrity, and making disgusting insinuations about my marriage. And you think I'm being sensitive? I'm just doing my show. This is what I do. If you can't handle it, maybe you shouldn't have come on. Maybe you're right about that. Maybe I shouldn't have come on a show where the host thinks being disrespectful is the same thing as being interesting. The audience was completely silent. Some people were recording on their phones. Howard's expression changed. You think you're better than me? Is that it? You're this serious actor and I'm just some low-life radio guy who made it on TV? I never said that. You're the one who seems to have a problem here, Howard. I came on your show with respect. I answered your questions. But you kept pushing and pushing, trying to get some kind of reaction. Yeah, because your whole act is boring. You come on here with your rehearsed answers and your perfect image, and it's all bullshit. You're afraid to be real. Denzel took a step closer to the desk. You want real? Here's real. You sit in this chair every day and you tear people down because it makes you feel big. You hide behind just asking questions, while you say the most disrespectful things you can think of. And when someone calls you out on it, you act like they're the problem. That's my job. My job is to ask the hard questions, to push people, to get past the fake Hollywood bullshit. There's a difference between asking hard questions and just being an asshole. The studio erupted in gasps. Howard stood up, pointing his finger. You need to watch how you talk to me on my show. Or what? You'll talk more crap about me? You'll make up more rumors? Go ahead, Howard. You've already shown everyone watching exactly who you are. Who I am. I'm the guy who built this show from nothing. I'm the guy who people actually want to hear from. You're just another actor who thinks they're special. I never said I was special. But I deserve basic respect. Every guest who comes on this show deserves basic respect. And you don't give it. If you want respect, maybe you should earn it. Maybe you should actually give an interesting interview instead of this boring, sanitized crap. Denzel laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think being crude and invasive is interesting. You think disrespecting people is interesting. That says everything about you and nothing about me. Get out. If you're going to stand there and lecture me on my own show, you can get the hell out. I was already leaving. Denzel reached up and unclipped the microphone from his shirt. I don't need to stay here and be insulted by someone who clearly has no idea what real conversation looks like. That's right, run away. Run away, like you always do, when things get uncomfortable. Denzel dropped the microphone on the chair and turned to face Howard one last time. I'm not running from anything. I'm walking away from a man who mistakes cruelty for courage and thinks shock value is the same as substance. I don't need anything from you. This show was doing fine before you got here. And it'll be fine after you leave. I'm sure it will. But that doesn't make what you do right. Howard slammed his hand on the desk. You come on my show. You play by my rules. You don't get to tell me how to do my job. And you don't get to disrespect me and my family without consequences. The consequence is that I'm done here. Fine. Leave. Nobody cares. Denzel turned toward the exit. The audience didn't know whether to applaud or stay silent. Some people started clapping. Others just watched in stunned disbelief. You're making a huge mistake walking out of here. You know how many people watch this show? Denzel stopped at the edge of the stage and looked back. Howard, some things are more important than publicity. Like self-respect. Like standing up when someone crosses a line. I have plenty of self-respect. I have more self-respect than you and your fake perfect life. If you say so. But treating other people like garbage isn't self-respect. It's the opposite. Get out! Get out of my studio! I'm going. You don't have to tell me twice. Denzel walked toward the exit. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second. Howard continued yelling. This is what happens when people can't handle real talk. They run away. They hide behind their PR teams and their carefully managed images. Denzel didn't respond. He just kept walking. You're proving my point. You're proving everything I said about you. You can dish it out in your movies, playing all these tough characters. But in real life, you can't take it. Denzel reached the door to backstage. One of the production assistants opened it for him. Howard's voice followed him. Don't ever come back here. You hear me? You're banned from this show. Just before the door closed, Denzel paused and spoke without turning around. That's the first thing you've said that makes sense. The door shut behind him. Howard stood there at his desk, breathing hard. Nobody in the studio moved. Nobody spoke. What are you all looking at? Howard finally said. We're done here. Cut to commercial. The whole thing was broadcast live. Thousands of people watched Denzel get disrespected, stand his ground, and walk out while Howard had a complete meltdown on camera. The studio audience just sat there. Some were on their phones. Others were processing what they'd just seen. Howard slumped back into his chair. His face flushed red. He took off his headphones and tossed them onto the desk. One of the producers rushed onto the stage. Are we going to continue? Howard didn't answer right away. He just stared at the door Denzel had walked through. Howard, are we continuing the show? Yeah, we're continuing. Just give me a minute. But the energy was totally different now. The audience that had been excited when Denzel walked out was now quiet and uncomfortable. Backstage, Denzel was already gathering his things from the green room. His assistant asked if he was okay. Denzel just shook his head calmly and said he was fine. One of the producers came running backstage. Mr. Washington, please, maybe we can work this out. Maybe you could come back and we could finish the interview. Denzel looked at the producer calmly. No, thank you. I think we're done here. But the show, the publicity for your film, my film will be fine. And I'll be fine. What just happened in there, that's not okay. I'm not going back out there. Is there anything we can do? Anything at all? You can work on creating an environment where guests are treated with respect. That would be a good start. He picked up his jacket, thanked his assistant, and walked toward the exit. Back in the studio, Howard had finally composed himself enough to continue. But his usual confidence was shaken. He tried to make jokes about what had happened, tried to spin it like Denzel couldn't handle a real conversation, but even his most loyal fans could see through it. Everyone who watched could see what happened. Howard had crossed multiple lines, attacked Denzel personally, and then acted shocked when Denzel left instead of taking more disrespect. The rest of the show was awkward. Howard brought out his sidekicks, tried some comedy bits, took calls. But everyone kept talking about what had just happened with Denzel. Several callers actually criticized Howard during the show. Howard, I've been listening for years. But that was out of line, man. I was just doing my job. Your job is to disrespect people? My job is to ask real questions. Those weren't questions, Howard. That was just mean. Howard got defensive. If Denzel couldn't handle it, that's on him. Nah, man. That's on you. You went too far. Call after call came in with similar sentiments. Some defended Howard, but many didn't. As the show ended and the studio cleared out, Howard sat alone at his desk again. His phone was already blowing up with messages. Out in the parking lot, Denzel got into his car. He sat in the back seat, calm and quiet. Howard had crossed the line too many times, and Denzel had decided his dignity mattered more than finishing that interview. Denzel's driver pulled out of the parking lot and headed back into the city. Denzel didn't look back. He'd said what he needed to say and walked out.